Hi, this is Natalie Rydstrom from Sportsbook Review. I invited Lee Phelps from William Hill's In Play Radio to the show to hear which team he thinks is the most overvalued or undervalued in the Premier League. Let's see what he thinks. Lee Phelps, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Looking forward to it.
Now, I've left this one open to you. Which one did you go with?
If anyone who's a regular viewer of these they'll just turned off by now because they'll go, yeah, he's going to say Crystal Palace. And I'm going to say Crystal Palace. Everyone thought this team pre-season was going to finish mid-table or something. You know, when Tony Pulis was still there as manager, they thought that. I didn't. I thought, no, this team is going to have a struggle. You know, they lost that manager. The next manager they wanted to try and employ got himself in all sorts of bother. Now they've employed a former manager called Neil Warnock, 65 years old. He won't inspire this team, in my opinion. They started off by scoring 3 goals. Newcastle ended up a 3-3 draw. They got 1 point from the first 3 games. The second bottom of the division, only locked on goal difference with Burnley. So I thought people were getting too carried away with what they did last season. They haven't improved the squad enough for me. They have brought in James McArthur from Wigan for £7 million in the transfer window. But Wigan are in the Championship. That's a Championship player. You know, he's not going to transform the fortunes of this team. I don't think they've brought in enough up front. Defensively, maybe they'll do okay, but it's goals. We said time and time again, the third fewest goals in the Premier League last season, and the other 2 teams who were worse than them went down to the Championship. So I thought they were overvalued, and finally the market has kind of corrected itself and put them in their rightful place in the relegation market, in my opinion.
For me, though, I don't think that they're all that bad. They drew 3-3 against Newcastle, playing away in their last Premier League fixture. They advanced further in the Capital One Cup. They lost 3-1 at home playing West Ham, not good, obviously. But they did manage a goal playing Arsenal at Emirates Stadium in their opening fixture. However, they are second favourites to be relegated, priced 2.6, which is surprising as they ended 11th place last season, and they are for third favourites below first place Burnley and second place QPR to be lowest goal scoring team, price 9. Now, what's gone wrong with them, and can you see them turning it around?
No, I can't really. I wouldn't be surprised if they have another manager before the end of the season. Like I say, Neil Warnock, you know, he's never really proved himself at Premier League level. A good lower league manager who's got lots of teams promoted. You know, and he did great at Sheffield United, but he's not a Premier League manager in my eyes. They haven't strengthened enough. It's a very, very tough division, and there's a thing called second season syndrome, which always seems to afflict teams. Now, I think Crystal Palace will suffer from that. I don't know if the players start to believe their own hype a little bit, or they get overconfident with the performances, but it gets harder and harder. You know, you look at some of the teams in there now. I mean, I think, you know, you're looking, you know, there's a lot of teams who could go down, but also there are a lot of teams who can finish in the top half of the table this season. And I think there are, you know, some star players around, and I think other teams have got those blockbuster players who can win a game from nothing. I don't see that from Palace. You mentioned that 3-3, Natalie. No team in any division, anywhere, should go 3 goals up away from home and draw 3-3. Once you've got 3 goals and you're leading, you should just defend. That's the end of it. You know, that's their strong point. Unbelievable that they drew that 3-3. I thought to myself, oh, they're going to win this game. When they drew it, I thought, oh, that just demonstrates even more why they won't survive this division.
Do you think they won't survive? Would you actually place money on them being relegated at the end of the season?
Yeah, I thought so before the season, and I'm sticking by. I'm even more confident now than I was before when we did the preview of the Premier League. Yeah, I think they'll go down. I think the bottom 3 now, actually, could be the bottom 3 come the end of the season. West Brom, Crystal Palace and Burnley.
Yeah. And what about then placing a bet on their manager to be the next manager sacked? Like, can you see that happening?
It'd be a bit short. I'd be quite surprised if he was to go this soon. I just wonder if they are struggling come, you know, the new year, January, February time. If they're already kind of struggling or they've got a chance of staying up, maybe they'll make a change then. They've done that in the past, obviously. So maybe not quite so soon. But yeah, I don't think Neil Warnock will last the season.
All right, wonderful. Lee Phelps, thank you for joining us today.
No problem.